Hey there, it's Ginger Bratzel here with you today. I hope you have a fantastic day. We are always working on things to help you with your business and making things happen. And so if it's more clients, customers, patients, whatever it's going to be, it's all dependent on a lot of stuff going on up here. And that's what we're going to talk about today in terms of self-sabotaging syndrome. And it happens to all of us. Nobody's immune to it, anything like that. I'm gonna grab my glasses so I can read my show notes. I took some notes I wanted to go over with you. And so, politically, a lot of things are going on. Don't want that part of my world. That's not going to influence what I need. I don't want that barrier. World's kind of crazy. COVID, business, economy, all these things are just swirling around. And so if you're not paying attention, it kind of feels like at times that you're out of control, and that's not the case. And, I don't want you to ever feel that way. I don't want to feel that way. And there's an opportunity to do it. But sometimes we get so involved into that loop that we can't shake it, and it sticks in our head, and it becomes part of our DNA as far as our business because we think it's going to do it. I read an article this morning about how hard the recession is hitting female businesses more than any other business. The she recession, that was actually the words they're saying it. And so it's easy to feel out of control when you feel like all this stuff is going on, just crap's happening. So if you call it a disaster, you call it a challenge, you call it opportunity, you decide what those words are. Things are happening, but what you call it and what you portray it in your heart and your head are more importantly. But, as a human race, as people, we are wired to conserve energy. We're in survival mode. Nobody wants to run a sprint all day, every day. Even if you enjoy running, you can't keep that up. You have to have your rest periods. And when it comes to your business, you want to be able to create that momentum and let it do that. So if you stay content, and that's what a lot of people went into this situation in the content phase. They weren't really actively doing things. They were just kind of status quo in it, and it caught them off guard. And it's it's kind of feels nice. I like content all the time. It's like being on the couch in your pajamas. If you're not actively doing it, watching Netflix, you're going to get fat, and your business kind of gets that soft and fluffy too. So being content means you aren't actively staying on your toes and you're coasting, but coasting can't last the whole time. You've got to put some energy into it. So, I always tell everybody status quo is a no-go. You've got to be looking down the road 3 months, 6 months. You need to have an A plan and a B plan just in reserve. So in case if you have to jump in and go, it's there for you. So when we have these disasters happening, these challenges, opportunities, whatever we want to call them, these events, if we are depleted, if we're like our cell phone and we didn't charge it and we go out on a long trip unexpectedly, you will fall into what we call M syndrome. And what I call M syndrome is MARTYR syndrome. I find a lot more common in females and business owners, but this is where we feel picked on. We feel our frame of thought is that at the point like it's out of our control. So we feel a little bit victim of the circumstances and feels like if we feel that way, then we've given the control to the situation. So I want you to take responsibility for it, no matter what, if it's something that happened to you or for you. That's your choice. But some people try to do it, and it just makes it worse. So I want you to think of it and say, hey, I'm in control of this. This didn't happen to me. It happened for me. I'm going to switch this around. And we're going to start flipping that conversation, that thought that's in your head like a pancake. Let's flip it over and let's look at the other side of it. I mean, right now, oh my gosh, social media, it's just filled with people that are out of control. They're just unleashing everything. The news is full of people out of control, and they're just feeding off the situation. If you're in one camp, you're hearing one conversation. You're in another camp, you hear another conversation, and it just fulfills what they're thinking in their heads. And so this is all part of that self-sabotage behavior that's going on in our lives that we don't want. So we got to change it. So when someone has that M syndrome, that MARTYR syndrome, they are past focus. Something happened to them in the past. Something's happening that things were good and things are not good now. They've got an unfair shake. But if you are past focused, then you're not going to get out of it. When people are in that past focus, that when I first meet them, or we have an email conversation, or, it's a live chat or something, even on the phone, say, before we talk about where you are, they have said, no, 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 you have to understand my story. And I want you to honor your story. I want you to love your story. I want you to be important to you for part of your past, but it is not who you are right now. This moment, this time only exists for a moment. You are right here this second. So if you don't let that go and drag that in, you will never get to the next phase. You've got to let it go. And so people are holding on to that. You've got to know my story. Again, I find, some people just love having that. We used to do great. We used to do this. Then this awful thing happened to me, and we've got to let it go. If you're going to, it's like a lead anchor. If you're not going to go forward, you've got to let it go, because it's going to just sink you. You don't want that. Let it go. Everything has to be right now, right now, right now, right now, because the only moment that matters is right now, because that's the only one that's under your control. Past already happened. The future's not here right now. So what are you going to do? What are you going to refocus on making that happen? So, what is the situation at this moment? We look at it from your business perspective, but also your life. What is the moment? Facts, not feelings, facts at this moment. And then instead of focusing on these big, huge things that people get worried about, especially if your momentum's down, you got a little comfy and content, you've got to get things going. We want to look at what's the quickest wins. What can we do right now? It might not be these huge things, but what little things we can do it, because we need the momentum rolling again. And it's harder. It's easier to get a little ball rolling than a big ball. So like, for instance, I had a conversation with a business, and he was very martyr mentality. He had that syndrome. He was telling me everything that's happened in the past, and we wanted to celebrate that and we acknowledge it. But what we can have control of is right now. And so his answer to everything was he was going to spend $3,000 on SEO. Now, we're looking at the moment of his office. A website was not the biggest important thing. There were so many broken systems in their office. They weren't good about getting new people in. The needs of these people who came in for these things they wanted, and he couldn't help them bridge that over the hook, and get them over on the side they want to be. The team was not really great on the phone, and they weren't really excited to be there. So it made you feel like crap if you were a customer. And so it didn't matter if he spent $3,000 on SEO and he got all these people to call or text or email him, because he couldn't get past that. That was not the obstacle. And so we had to honor that moment and say, hey, listen, this is not the real situation. He needs some faster wins. And he had all this potential in his office. There was a lot of little things that we could do very quickly for a heck of a lot of money than less than $3,000 a month on just SEO. That was going to take a long time to get going. And I don't know if his business was going to survive the 6 months. He was so cash strapped that he was going to go get a loan for this thing that he was going to put in there. And so he was so busy it happened to him. He was going to put it on somebody else as far as responsibility instead of him taking the strategy. And so it broke my heart. It really hurt my heart for him and his business, because that was not what he needed, and he couldn't honor what was going on. So it's got to be really, really clear and be receptive. And it's sometimes a little painful, but when we live in a world, that's the way it's always been done. It's not going to get you through to the next thing. We have to evaluate what's the situation right now and move it forward. What's the circumstances right now? What do we need to adapt, and let go of that old story and moving forward? So when we talk about that M syndrome, and I was looking for it before I went on, and somebody's cleaned my office. I had a giant M, a letter M on there as a reminder. So when clients told me something and we were on a call on a Skype, I'd hold it up. I said, we're playing the M game. It was an M that sat there to remind us. So when you're in the M syndrome, to get out of the M situation, we flip it. We take that M and we turn it into a W for a win. We reframe the situation. Same solution, same situation, looked at from a different way. So, when we want to reframe the situation, moving it forward and see what's going on, we need to stop seeing this as a disaster or a challenge and look at it more as an opportunity. Is it an opportunity to give up something that's not working? Is it an opportunity to move towards something better? Is it an opportunity to let go of something we were afraid to let go before? And when we do it, we want to go through and look at these opportunities. We run them first as a virtual scenario mentally. We're not going through and changing everything in our business, but let's say, what if, I write it out. Here's the situation. What if it was this? And I write it out over there. Because once you get it out of your head and out of your heart and put it to pen and paper, it doesn't look so ominous. It doesn't look so scary. You've taken the power out of it because there's no unknowns in it. You have the situation right there. You've given it the power back to you. No, and you go through it. It's no harm, no foul in this whole situation. It's just a scenario. You're not putting yourself out there. You're not spending anything. It's just a mental simulation to go through it. And here's the thing with our subconscious. It's so super powerful. It cannot tell what's real and what's not real. So if you're running it through your subconscious, we're going through that situation, it doesn't know that this is a simulation. It gives you feedback. It gives you information and data. So you go through and do it. So let your brain do the heavy lifting. Let the pen and paper take the scary parts out and what the real facts are and put it out there, and let's run it mentally first. So that's the first way we reframe the situation. How can we look at different? Spinning that M into a W. And then we look at the present. We focus on what is going on right now, what is working a little bit or has worked in the past that we still have going on. I want to start with the quicker wins. I don't want you to worry about, ignore the failures, ignore all the crap that's going on, ignore the news, ignore all the stuff. I want, what are the wins for you in your business right now? And I want you to write those down. And it doesn't have to be big wins. It could be small ones, okay? Because what happens when you put a lot of small wins together, it equals a bigger win. Again, you're not trying to push that huge boulder up the hill. Let's get these little pebbles that when we accumulate their efforts can equal that. And that's what most people do. They try to bite off too much, too big. Back to the example of the $3,000 SEO guy thinking he needed to fix a very expensive website that was not working. And he was ready to spend more money into that. So what can we do here? The phone's not ringing. What is it? He wasn't even tracking how many phone calls, how many people were walking in that were walk-in customers versus who actually purchased from him. He didn't have that data. He wasn't seeing through the filters that these people needed retraining and making it happen. So those were little things he could have done that cost him nothing. Spent an afternoon that he was already pretty empty anyway, and go through with his staff and his team and retrain them on those things. And then I think the last thing right now people are struggling with, and I know I struggle with it too, unless I have it as a reminder every day, I have a journal for this, is finding gratitude in the gift we've been given right now. So cash flow might be tighter, but we've given the gift of time. We've been given the gift of being able to let go of other things and start new things because there was no excuse. So we have these wonderful things we got to be thankful for. And we're not going to blame anything. We avoid the blame, let it go. And what are we grateful for in this time? I've got to let go of some things in my business that I've done just because that's what we've always done. And it's nice just to have that freshness. When you declutter your closet, you let some stuff go. When you have that white space, it re-energizes your heart, your soul, your brain, your body, everything, where you have more room to operate, to do it. So I want you to reframe that that M, and turn it into a W as we go forward in the next couple weeks for you. Use the exercise of the reframing, because it's just physics. This is not woo-woo. This is physics. Newton's law of physics. Things that are in motion will stay in motion. So let's get those little things going. And let us build up some momentum so you can carry it through and going through there. So, that's what we do. Share with me in the comments what you thought. I will be back here again. This is what we do every week. We give you tips, strategies, and big picture thinking about moving your business forward. So this is Ginger Brownsell. I'm signing off, and I want to say thank you for being here. Take care.